Hello, beautiful. I'm your host, Nicole Goff. Welcome to the Ecstatic Life Podcast, the podcast for women who want to live fully embodied, nervous system regulated, open-hearted, radiant, and alive. Here we explore the practices, modalities, and lived rhythms that return you to yourself, to your heart, to your body, your intuition, and your divine spark. This podcast is for women who are ready to awaken their inner creatrix, activate their inner manifester, and remember, an ecstatic life isn't a destination. It's the path we're walking together. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Ecstatic Life Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Desiree Goff. And this week I'm coming to you with a solo episode focusing on pleasure. I'd like to start off by asking you a question. What if your sex life had less to do with what you do in bed and more to do with how you live your entire life? I think most of us tend to think of turn on as something that happens to us. If your partner says the right thing, looks at you the right way, touches you the right way, maybe you see something sexy, maybe you finally get a babysitter, the circumstances are perfect. Basically outsourcing. He or she does the thing, and then I get turned on. But what if turn on is something that we actually cultivate throughout the entire day, throughout our lives, as we go about even doing mundane, boring shit, like driving kids to school? What if you could actually spend your whole day practicing receiving pleasure, and so that at 9 p.m. when the kids are in bed, you're wired for having a good time? So just like everything else in my life, I have taken my pleasure on as a radical responsibility. I have radical responsibility for my own turn on. Because you know what? It's really easy to say my partner should. My partner should make me happy and my marriage should fulfill me and all those shoulds. And I talked about this last week as well when I was speaking on gratitude. But we can take this into the sexual realm as well, right? So basically saying that someone else needs to give me a reason to feel good instead of I am responsible for my own experience of pleasure. And again, this doesn't mean ignoring, difficult things in the relationship or problems and just pretending everything is wonderful. Just as I said last week, this isn't this delusional idea of pretending to be happy and pretending like you don't see any flaws. So let's not even go there. This is more about refusing to let pleasure be something that you are perpetually waiting for, that you're waiting for like a gift that is to be given to you, waiting for something to happen to turn you on. And to be honest, as moms, if we're not in that mindset of receiving pleasure and looking for it, we can be spending most of our time in serving and managing, mothering in that masculine, like do, working energy where we're just kind of hustling and grinding our way through things. And if we get to the end of the day and we haven't filled our lives and our days with things that are pleasurable to us, then the idea of receiving pleasure, the idea of that being even something that we really want in our body is going to be difficult. And it's going to be very difficult to go from that masculine mode of output into a juicy, pleasure-filled experience. Generally, there is a wind down and wind up period that is required. But let's be honest, by the time the kids get to bed at 9 o'clock at night, do you really have 2 hours for that wind down and wind up period? I mean, do you want to wait until midnight? No, you want to be asleep, I'm sure. So what I'm talking about is actually starting to enjoy the everyday little mundane things in life as you're going out throughout your day. cultivating that turn on, cultivating that juicy feeling inside of you just through living life. And you can receive pleasure. You can receive all the feel good feelings through very simple acts throughout your day. And a lot of this has to do with slowing down. So can you savor the moment instead of rushing through it? People say, stop and smell the roses, right? That's a common phrase. So that is really like quintessentially it, right? The enjoyment, the pleasure you get out of the smell of a rose. So slowing down, noticing things. I mean, the smell of clean laundry or the smell of the dish soap and the warm water. I mean, these are chores, right? We go throughout our day. And I spoke about this last week, and that's why this is piggybacking on this. It's like the have to versus I get to mindset. So I have to do the laundry. I have to do the dishes. No, I get to, like, actually slowing down and what can I find that's pleasurable in this? And you can add things that cultivate this. Music. Music is such a big turn on to me. So I have some like sexy tantra playlists, and I will play those throughout the day while I'm driving. I do a lot of driving. And I will play sexy music and just like dance in my car seat, swaying my hips while I'm driving. That is cultivating a pleasurable feeling in my body. That is cultivating turn on that I then carry with me throughout the day. It's also taking the time to slow down and enjoy your body and enjoy what your body is doing in space, right? So taking the time to feel what she needs and allowing her to move how she wants to move, enjoying the sensations that are around you. And so that, that might like feeling your feet on the earth, feeling soft clothing on your skin. And again, with like cultivating this, like intentionally picking clothing that feels good. And I talk about this with my clients and in my courses, this idea of adornment, putting on clothing and jewelry that make us feel good. And this isn't about looking a certain way. This is about how it makes us feel. So when we adorn ourselves, when you wrap yourself in something that feels like nice and silky, this is part of that cultivating pleasure. And even in the aesthetics of it, when you are in the bathroom and you catch yourself in the mirror, feeling in love with yourself, being, happy with the image that you see in the mirror. And part of that is mindset, and you can purposefully make it a point to look at yourself and say, I am beautiful, I am sexy. But also the way that we adorn ourselves, the way that we get dressed, is it inviting that? Do we feel good about what we've put on our bodies? This can also be in the other sensory input, like food, like enjoying the first bite of the food that we're eating, not just like woofing down whatever we can, half of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich as we're running out the door, but actually giving ourselves space, making a beautiful salad that we really love and enjoying the hell out of that first bite and the pleasure that we receive from those flavors, and stopping like on the way out the door, pausing for a few seconds to feel the sun on your skin, to listen to birds, to look around and see what you can notice that is beautiful. This sensory input brings us pleasure. I mean, that's what this life is about, right? We get all of these senses to experience things. And every time we notice these pleasurable things, we widen our capacity to feel pleasure in general. And you're probably like, okay, yeah, but what does this have to do with sex, right? Like, and what happens in the bedroom? But we carry this attitude along with us when we are in this open, receptive, pleasurable way of living, then that carries into the evening. There isn't this like, oh, it's the end of the day and I just want to go to bed. And man, he just wants something from me. Like there isn't this attitude of fatigue and being touched out when we can find the pleasure throughout the day
And another thing that can help, like another rep that you can put in throughout the day that can help, is carrying the attitude of curiosity, childlike wonder, playfulness. And this goes along with what I was saying about enjoying things. It's stopping and taking the time to have fun with things, stopping and taking the time. Like you think about a little kid, right? Like where they see a puddle, they're like, they go jump in the puddle. That's what they do. Like, of course they're going to jump in the puddle, no matter if their clothes are all clean and washed and yeah. Anyways, I digress. So having that attitude of playfulness, because let's be honest, when we're in the bedroom, right, that is part of it, that attitude of playfulness. So having that attitude of playfulness, childlike curiosity and wonder throughout the day is another way to cultivate that pleasurable feeling with life, just loving life, right? And unfortunately, as moms, a lot of times we lose this. We lose this when we have kids and the kids are experiencing it, and yet we lose it. We are so focused on what needs to get done. What's next? What on the checklist, who needs what? Serving and scheduling and, all of these things. We lose our own sense of childlike play and wonder in order to create these containers, create these experiences for our kids to have it, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, you can take a page from your kid's book of life, not literally their book, but their book of life, and follow what they're doing. Really get into something, being in the moment, right? So wonder, curiosity, silliness, play, like it really requires this presence, this, in mindfulness, we would call this the beginner's mind. So being fully present in the moment. And this is also so important in the bedroom, right? Like in your experience of, a sexual experience, like with your partner, you need that presence, that openness, that curiosity, the receptivity. So this is also cultivating the same needs that you will have in the bedroom later. And also the permission to enjoy, the permission to feel pleasure in something. So in that openness, curiosity, childlike wonder, being in the moment, in play, right? You are giving yourself permission to just enjoy, to not be productive, to not be doing, to not be on task. You are giving yourself permission to feel pleasure. And I want to point out an important distinction about sensuality and pleasure versus sexuality, because it could seem like so far I'm kind of conflating them. So to separate these two things, really, when we're talking about like, okay, getting on the floor and playing with your kids and like getting really into a game and being in the childlike wonder, right? Like there's no sexuality involved in that. Not, conflating those two things in any way. But the sensuality, the touch senses, right? Our capacity to feel things through our senses, sensuality, and the pleasure. Like you get pleasure from petting your cat, right? Like it feels good. What feels good? And this doesn't necessarily conflate with sexual pleasure and sexuality, but it does lend itself, like just being in our senses, in that sensuality and in that pleasure, like whether it is purely non-sexual, purely, just fun and innocent play, right? It still lends us to be open to the experience of sensuality and pleasure in our sexuality. And sexuality is an expression of that, right? It is one of the expressions of that. But a sensual woman, like living in her pleasure, it's not necessarily that you're like constantly sexually turned on and you're just going around like, in a state of ready to jump into bed all day. I'm not saying that, but you are awake. You are inhabiting your body. You are available to experience life. There is, you're tapped into your eros, your vital life force. And again, when you talk about eros, the vital life force, Eros is obviously connected to erotic, right? So these things are very, very intertwined. That sensuality, that aliveness, that eros can naturally spill over into the erotic. And that is the point here. Your everyday sensual experience of your life will get carried over into your experience in the bedroom, into your experience with your partner. So if you're used to rushing and numbing and grinding and overstimulation, obligation, multitasking, all of this stress, hypervigilance, being disconnected from your body, not listening to your body, then how are you going to expect to suddenly be able to tap in to that pleasure, to tap into your eros, to tap into your embodiment when the kids are asleep and your husband wants sexy time? You can't spend 14 hours abandoning yourself and abandoning your body and then expect your body and your turn on to show up for you at 10 p.m. when you want it to. So the practice is to tap into it little by little throughout the day in little moments, savoring little moments, breathing, feeling, enjoying, being in your senses, being embodied throughout the day. And it's also about not outsourcing your pleasure to your partner. And let's be for real, after 10, 15, 20 years, the relationship fatigue is real, right? I mean, I'm going on 15 years with my partner now, and sometimes harder to access the excitement for him that was maybe there 10 to 15 years ago. And this is normal. Familiarity, it reduces novelty. You live with someone day in and day out, and that excitement fades. And what had happened to me a while ago, before I really started putting attention into this, was that I started seeing our sexual relationship as another chore on my to-do list. Another thing I had to check off. It's like we became like coworkers, like co-managers of the household, and everything was logistics and like bills and kids and, all of this. And the fun, the turn on, spontaneity, all of that got lost. And so then when it came to the end of the day and we finally got time alone, I was just like, oh, great. Another person that wants something from me, right? He needs sex and I need to give it to him. Just like the kids need food or hugs or to be taken somewhere, et cetera, and I need to give it to them. That's my job. And that was not a fun way to be living a marriage. And so the easy thing to do was to blame him, of course, because, he wasn't making me feel turned on. And I think most of us do this, right? We unconsciously outsource our turn on, outsource our pleasure. We, expect the relationship or the other person to make us feel sexy, to make us feel desired, to create romance. And it's not to say that your partner doesn't contribute to your pleasure or to the experience that you have together. It's not to say that, but they alone cannot be responsible for keeping that spark alive, that spark inside of you for keeping your desire alive. They cannot be solely responsible for your turn on. That is your radical responsibility, your responsibility to yourself to live in a way aids that turn on within you, that tends to that spark, that keeps that glowing ember, your eros, alive. And so that it's ready to flame up at any minute. And again, this is living fully engaged with your life, living in your pleasure. So not being sexually aroused 24/7, but just being turned on by your life, loving your life, feeling pleasure in what you do, pleasure in your body, in your day-to-day experience, allowing yourself to be moved by life. This creates a fertile ground for that erotic pleasure, for the erotic desire. And then pleasure and turn on become just a way of living instead of something that you're outsourcing, that you're waiting to have happen to you. You're just living it and seeking it on a moment-to-moment basis. Another part of this that I want to touch on is the self-care aspect. So I've talked about being present with moment-to-moment activities that you're doing as you're going throughout your day-to-day. But another big part of this is taking the time specifically to take care of yourself. I did touch on this when talking about adornment and putting on things that feel good to you. But you need to be having time to move your body, care for your body, pause and take breaks, do things that are enjoyable just for the pleasure of doing them too. So not, I go to the gym to punish myself so I get skinnier. No. I put on a 15-minute playlist and dance my heart out to in the living room because that feels really fucking juicy. Not I get up early before the kids so that I have time to cram in some extra work and alone time. I get up early so that I can engage in a breathwork or meditation practice to open myself up, or do some yoga, to stretch, to watch the sunrise. So blocking off these times for ourselves, early in the morning, maybe afternoon tea, maybe in the evening, we take time to go on a walk by ourselves or read a book or take a bath, take a bubble bath by yourself. But blocking off these times for self-care where we're really just focused on our own needs. And this can differ slightly than just the stop and smell the roses that I was talking about, because that's finding the pleasure in the everyday as we're going about whatever we're doing through our day. But this is purposefully taking time for your own pleasure, carving out time every single day to fill your own cup. And with all of this, then we are meeting our partners when it is time, when we have, alone time in our relationship. We are meeting our partners from this sense of overflow. You're not meeting them, asking them to fill you up, but you're coming to them already in overflow. And anything that they are doing with you is just icing on the cake. All right, so I want to give you some challenges for this week, some little experiments in pleasure practice, and try this for a week and tell me how this affects your bedroom life. Yes, leave it in the comments. I would love to hear about it. So first, I want you every day to intentionally notice 5 moments. And again, this doesn't have to be huge, big things. 5 simple, mundane, everyday moments, and really find the pleasure in them. This is your stop and smell the roses practice. Noticing with your senses what feels good right now, what smells good right now, what tastes good right now. Slowing down and receiving the pleasure in those moments, and really taking note 5 times every single day. And a caveat too, you just want to enjoy this pleasure. Just let yourself have the pleasure. You don't need to, take a selfie, snap a picture of it, try to monetize it in some way, try to turn it into anything productive, or, it's for you. It's something to just enjoy. This isn't something to share. This is an internal exercise, right? So no need to, make it useful in some way. No need to capture it in some way. Just allowing that moment to be in your body and letting it be privately yours. And the next thing that I want you to do is every day for the next week, I want you to carve out at least 5 minutes a day. That is the bare minimum. Let's try to go for 10 to 15, but bare minimum 5 minutes every day for one self-care activity by yourself that is just for you, that gives you so much pleasure. And this could be a bubble bath. That's the classic, right? Lock your door, scented candles, scented bubbles, aromatherapy, whatever you need, candles, lights down low, really to get into that luxurious feeling. I mean, this could be something, going to get your hair or your nails done, or going on a walk in the woods by yourself, going to a yoga class. You choose, but make sure every single day you are picking one self-care activity for yourself, by yourself, just for you, that brings you so much pleasure. Third, I am going to link one of my favorite pleasure building playlists that I have made in the show notes. I would like you to listen to that and try dancing to it. Just one song, doesn't have to be the whole thing, but put that on and dance to it and move your body in a way that feels good every day. So try these things for the next week. Let me know how you feel. And I just want to close with something that I have said many times on this podcast, but an ecstatic life isn't about just being in joy, high vibe all the time. It is about feeling your feelings. And with this is being in the moment and sensing what is going on around you. It doesn't mean that everything in your life is perfect. It doesn't mean you're trying to fake it till you make it and create some delusional life. What it means is that you are available for the experience of being alive. So go out there and cultivate the conditions for your aliveness. And I will see you next time.
Want to dance with me? Go deeper with me? Have me in your back pocket, literally? Join the Ecstatic Life Academy on the Go Collab app, link in show notes.